The heroics of staff members here at Rigby Middle School is coming to light in the wake of yesterday's shooting. On Fox 13, Spencer Joseph will tell you what the community is saying about them. Coming on.
I'm tracking big changes for the weekend for today. Fire concerns across the south and showers and thunderstorms across the north, but cooler temperatures for all of us heading into this weekend. All of the impacts and timing coming up.
This morning, the Department of Labor released their latest jobs report with numbers much lower than expected.
We're competing for talent.
Coming up, hear from an expert and find out why.
That means less speech for you, for me, for everybody.
A bill about what you post on social media is returning to Capitol Hill.
How much of this comes from your blue can? How much of it is actually recycled? We'll show you coming up.
Live from Utah's news leader, Fox 13's Live at 5 starts right now.
Rigby, Idaho has now come together after yesterday's school shooting. We've learned more about the victims and how the community is recovering from this tragedy.
We have live team coverage this afternoon. Max Roth spoke in depth with a child psychologist about this case.
But we start with Spencer Joseph live at Rigby Middle School, where he has been since yesterday. Spencer, what can you tell us?
Well, today is a much quieter day at Rigby Middle School than it was yesterday. The state superintendent visiting today, as well as students, faculty member, and staff being inside receiving counseling. School was not in session today, but one thing we've seen all around town is all of these banners, these signs, and all of these things going up that basically say Rigby Strong, Trojan Strong, which is Rigby Middle School's mascot. Businesses are also starting to offer up things to the community. One of them is called Pick Me Up Soda, and they're offering free sodas as well as collecting donations to those affected by the shootings, already gathering hundreds and hundreds of dollars. Now, we talked with a very busy manager as cars were wrapping around the building, who spared just a few moments to tell us why she felt like this was needed in this community.
Where we can't control much the situation around us, we can control one thing, and we can control making people happy and trying to make their days a little bit better and truly give them a pick-me-up. We've had so many people just cry at the window, and I know it's something small, just a drink, but it really does brighten up people's days.
Now, many in the community are also highlighting Krista Knighting as the teacher who disarmed the student, and Jim Wilson as the custodian, who many of the community members tell us was the one who was shot. Now, one of those that was waiting in line at this soda shop actually was a student of Knighting, as well as her mother. Take a listen.
My daughter was actually at the school yesterday, and she was in that classroom, and Mrs. Knighting was her teacher. So the support means a lot, a lot. These kids need all of that support.
So definitely this community coming together, working together to try and recover from yesterday's shooting. We'll have more at 9 o'clock from all of the community members coming together here in Rigby, Idaho. But for now, live in Rigby, Idaho, Spencer Joseph, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Spencer, thank you. One part of that community support and healing is coming from counselors and social workers like Cam Mielek.
Especially with your younger kids, if they're, being exposed to a lot of just like these news stories and things like that, right? They may not be able to understand the context of everything like that. So sometimes it's really important for those trusted adults to be able to come in and to say, hey, let's talk about this situation.
One of the troubling things about the shooting is the suspect is so young, just 6th grade, Bob.
Today, Fox 13 News invited one of Utah's most prominent child psychologists to talk about how younger adolescents understand situations like this. Max Roth joins us with that conversation. Max.
Yeah, Bob and Kelly, thank you. Dr. Doug Goldsmith said he's not sure that these younger adolescents really do understand something like this. Typically, 11 and 12-year-olds are on the verge of thinking about abstract ideas like ethics and morals. Goldsmith guesses the motive here was probably simple, with little thought to consequence.
And I suspect that for whatever reason, this child just sort of snapped.
Snapped with access to a gun. Dr. Doug Goldsmith says that's the problem.
That presence of weapons increases aggressive thoughts, hostile appraisals of the other person's behavior, and aggressive behavior. So this is a big concern, that if a weapon is available to a child, it makes it more likely to use that weapon in light of a very angry episode.
Goldsmith is worried that an angry child today is likely to have acted out hundreds or thousands of scenes of violence in video games.
Children in this generation have become kind of numb to that I'm not so sure that they do fully process. If I pull a gun and shoot, you're going to fall down dead, but you'll pop back up like you do in the game.
Still, school shootings are rare, but it's common for students to be reminded of the possibility.
From anxious children, that shelter-in-place drills have become very frightening for them. This is a new level of awareness and sort of a life issue for this generation of the reality that we may have to shut down because somebody could be trying to harm us.
Goldsmith says students need to know adults will protect them.
Parents are just going to have to be really aware that there's that sector of very anxious children that may now be afraid to go to school.
Well, so far this year, the Gun Violence Archive reports about 6,600 murders in America, and 12 events were classified as mass murders. So really the best way to keep your kids safe is to watch out for their mental health. First, in explaining these things to them and understanding their feelings, and also knowing that guns are more commonly used in suicides than in murder by a wide margin. Live in studio, Max Roth, Fox 13 News, Utah.
We're following breaking news in Utah County where a brush fire is affecting traffic on northbound I-15 just north of Center Street in Provo. The right lane is closed right now. UDOT says there's also a crash in this area. That happened after the fire broke out. We have a call in to Provo Fire for more information. We'll keep you updated as we learn more.
Windy conditions certainly not helping firefighting efforts in that area of Utah County tonight, Allison.
Yes, absolutely. And with the gusty outflow winds from our storms that we're about to see here along the Wasatch Front, we're going to see some strong wind gusts plus some lightning that also creates a new layer of concern. Plus, we have the fire warnings for southern Utah. But right now, most of our precipitation still into western Tooele County and over towards Wendover, so eastern Nevada, and then up just west of I-84, some moderate rainfall near the Idaho border. This is new. A special weather statement has been issued for the Great Salt Lake. This goes for the next 45 minutes. We'll see some wind gusts about 40 miles per hour on the Great Salt Lake, which is going to create hazardous boating conditions. So they're calling all boaters to get to safety just because of how choppy it's going to be. Now, we're still really dry across southern Utah. We have the fire warnings from Lake Powell all the way towards the Nevada border. That goes until 9 o'clock tonight. You can see the top of your screen right there. Current temperatures around 70 to 80 degrees. We have a lot of clouds, way more clouds than we had earlier this morning, and we're going to see the chances for showers and thunderstorms most likely between about 7 and midnight tonight. So here very shortly. And we're going to have potentially a few showers on and off through the early morning tomorrow, but then you wake up tomorrow morning along the Wasatch Front. We're going to end up with some more sunshine eventually tomorrow, but much cooler temperatures for your weekend thanks to that cold front that's making its way through the state right now. Let's talk more about the timing of our showers and thunderstorms for this evening coming up in my full forecast.
All right, we'll see you soon, Allison. Thank you. One person is recovering after being shot in Salt Lake City this morning. It happened just after 9:30 near 500 South Concord Street. That's about 1250 West. The victim is expected to make a full recovery. Investigators are still figuring out exactly what happened and who was involved.
We are looking for the driver of a dark Subaru Crosstrek. We believe we know the vehicle. It's stolen. So trying to find a license plate on that's going to be a little difficult, but it does have a bike rack where the trailer hitch would go.
If you see the car, police recommend you do not approach the vehicle. Just call 911. And if you have any information for investigators, please call Salt Lake City Police.
Utah reached a big milestone on the vaccination front today. More than 1 million people in the state are now fully vaccinated. More than 2.2 million doses of the COVID vaccine have been administered. Clinics are now taking walk-ins. So are pharmacies and some primary care physicians.
Here are the rest of today's numbers. There are 386 new coronavirus cases. 4 more Utahns have lost their lives to the virus. The 7-day positivity rate is 6.7%.
Still to come, there is a big push to get Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine the green light for children. what a new survey shows that a large number of parents may not be on board with.
Plus, what lies ahead for the police officers at the center of George Floyd's death, the actions the feds are taking against the officers.
The U.S. had a slight decrease in job growth in April. Coming up, find out what impact that has on businesses right here in Utah.
The United States is seeing the lowest COVID-19 case numbers and deaths in months, and there is more progress on the vaccine front.
In fact, Pfizer is seeking full FDA approval of its COVID vaccine for those 16 and older. Now, next week, the FDA is expected to authorize that vaccine for emergency use for children ages 12 to 15.
As adults get vaccinated, COVID is still in the community. It's still floating around, trying to find a host who is susceptible, and unvaccinated children are a prime example of that.
But getting some parents to vaccinate their children could prove difficult. A Kaiser Family Foundation survey found about 30% of respondents would vaccinate their children right away, while almost 20% say they definitely won't.
This evening, there are new developments in the case of George Floyd's death. A federal grand jury indicted former police officer Derek Chauvin and 3 other officers for violating Floyd's civil rights. Chauvin has already been convicted of murdering Floyd. He's now accused of unreasonable force and seizure. The other 3 officers were indicted for either not intervening or failing to provide medical care. The 3 face a state trial in August and right now are free on bond. Chauvin remains in custody and faces sentencing next month.
U.S. Capitol Police say threats against members of Congress are up 107% compared to last year. The department adds that it is confident the number of cases will continue to rise. Capitol Police made those revelations today in a news release on security recommendations. Those were detailed in a 3rd preliminary report by the Capitol Police Inspector General. The report itself has not yet been released.
Mother's Day is this weekend, but not every mother will be celebrating. Still ahead, how you can be supportive of mothers who have suffered a loss.
Healthy kids that are fed well learn better.
2 state agencies are working together to bring more fresh food to students. How they're making it possible and how it'll help farmers who are struggling.
You likely know Mother's Day is this Sunday, but for many women, this is not a day of celebration, rather a reminder of infertility or child loss. There are many ways we can all help women who've suffered those traumas, including having patience with them. Eliza Pierce with the Huntsman Mental Health Institute says even if a woman has had a miscarriage or lost a child after birth, they are still mothers, and it's important to recognize that. It's also important to acknowledge the loss of a child and allow women to express their feelings.
I think it's important to allow these women to tell their story and to encourage women to speak out as soon as they're ready to say, yes, I'm pregnant, or I've had a pregnancy loss and this day is really, really hard for me.
If you or someone you know is dealing with the loss of a child, Pierce says there are many local support groups that help with that, as well as infertility issues, postpartum depression, so many different organizations that you can reach out to. If you'd like more information on how to connect with some of these groups, go to fox13now.com.
The Department of Labor reports American employers added 266,000 jobs in April, a sharp decline from March and far below what economists had predicted.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a surprise. Fox 13's Diego Romo asked the Utah Department of Workforce Services what happened.
Non-farm payroll employment rose by 770,000 jobs in March and was expected to be over 1 million in April, but that was not the case. The Utah Department of Workforce Services says the decline in growth could be a sign that employers are having a hard time finding workers.
In general, we just are having a little bit of a delay in our labor force meeting that demand of the economy in general.
Stram says businesses face a double-edged sword as revenues rise with the loosening of pandemic restrictions, coupled with a hesitancy or inability for many to return to the workforce.
There are a lot of reasons for that. I think we have people who have maybe taken this opportunity as this kind of pause to make career changes, maybe go back to school. We have people who have larger caregiving responsibilities at home with their students doing remote learning. We have people who had to step away for those reasons.
Manufacturing is one industry that saw a decrease in job growth in April, down 18,000 jobs after experiencing sharp increases in February and March. Hercules Industries, a local sheet metal manufacturing firm that provides parts for HVAC systems, has experienced this double-edged sword firsthand.
There's been quite a few jobs that we've had posted that have kind of been unfilled for some time.
Stram says Utah's resilient economy is one reason why businesses are having a hard time finding employees. With low unemployment throughout the pandemic and more businesses beginning to open up, the labor pool is small, making the market competitive for employers.
We are going to see employers have to offer more in terms of wages or perks to be more competitive in this job market because it is so tight and because the demand is not quite caught up there yet with the supply.
Good news for job seekers, but more money to spend for businesses.
Pay rate has a lot to do with it. You know, we're competing for talent in lots of different industries, and because the economy has been so strong, you don't have the same number of people looking for jobs because there are so many available.
I also spoke with Michael McHenry, owner of several local restaurants. He says he's added an employee sign-on bonus for new cooks and servers and a referral bonus for existing employees in order to remain competitive in the job market. Both are perks rarely seen in the service and hospitality industry, which continues to make big gains as the economy rebounds. In Salt Lake City, Diego Romo, Fox 13 News, Utah.
And if you're looking for a job, the Department of Workforce Services has tools to help connect you with employers. We can link you over from our website, fox13now.com.
The State Board of Education and the Utah Department of Agriculture and Food are working to get more fresh, locally grown food to Utah students. $250,000 will be paid to schools as part of a state reimbursement. Schools that spend a higher portion of their funds on locally grown products will receive a higher state reimbursement. Not only does that give students more nutritious options, it helps farmers keep a large, consistent market base, which strengthens the local economy.
A lot of kids can be hesitant to eat fruits and vegetables, but when they know that it's something that's grown, I mean, they might get the chance to even meet the farmer who grew that food.
Utah and 10 other states offer a locally grown incentive program for school meals.
It felt good outside today, temperature-wise, but man, Allison, the wind this morning in parts of the state was not good, and things not looking so beautiful right now.
No, we had the clouds that moved in, so just as we expected, the sunshine first thing in the morning, that wind really picking up throughout the day, and now the clouds. Now our front is bringing cooler temperatures for Mother's Day weekend. Ahead of it, that wind is out of the south right now, bringing fire concerns, especially to southern Utah, but pretty much everywhere since it's warm and pretty breezy for most of you. We still have that wind out of the south for the southern part of the Wasatch Front, but our front is moving through northern Utah right now. Behind it, we're seeing increased chances for rain, and we're going to continue to see that chance for rain through about midnight tonight. That's when it's the most likely here along the Wasatch Front. Now, compared to this time 24 hours ago, it's a good 5 to 10 degrees cooler out there, but come tomorrow, we're looking at big changes for our daytime highs compared to the last couple of days. So what it feels like right now here across our state, it's about 70 to 80 degrees, but here's what you need to know. It is extremely windy currently, especially across southern Utah. Look at these numbers. Cedar City, 41 miles per hour, 30 miles per hour from Moab. Vernal, 22 miles per hour. So it is windy. Up in Ogden, we're seeing that wind gusting around 20 miles per hour, and we're going to see that possibility of the gusty outflow winds with some thunderstorms this evening around 40 to 45 miles per hour. So overnight temperatures will be in the mid-40s. We'll have that chance for showers again, most likely before midnight, but we'll have some scattered showers after midnight as well. But tomorrow, breezy and quite a bit cooler, so sunny and not even up to 60 degrees tomorrow here in Salt Lake City. But for this evening, here's what you need to know. As this rain continues to move through, we're now looking at 8 o'clock here. Wasatch Front, we start seeing that rain really filling in, and we're going to have the chance for some stronger thunderstorms from the Idaho border all the way down into central Utah. And that's mostly going to be down through about the Santaquin area. And then we're going to have the increased cloud cover throughout a lot of the state tonight as well. And then come tomorrow morning, we'll have some more sunshine for you first thing in the day, but clouds at times, partly cloudy sky heading into your day tomorrow. Then come Sunday afternoon, more clouds and a few more chances for rain by next Monday. We'll talk more about that coming up in my next full forecast. But first thing tomorrow morning as you wake up, it'll be around 35 to 45 degrees. And then tomorrow afternoon, temperatures will be around 50 to 60 for the Wasatch Front, close to 50 for Park City, and then 60s for Ridgefield down into Cedar, and then up through Milford 64, 66 for Vernal, and Moab 71 degrees tomorrow afternoon. For St. George, tomorrow and Mother's Day, 84 degrees. You'll keep it in the mid-80s for Monday, and then 90s for Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday of next week. So our heat returns, and this weekend here in Salt Lake, we're a good 30 degrees colder than what we had for a high yesterday. So for Mother's Day, clouds, 60 degrees for a temperature, which is about 10 degrees below average. We're below average through Tuesday of next week, and then our temperatures will be on the rise, and we're back above average Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday.
I think it's fair for consumers to have an expectation of what the policy is.
A state lawmaker is bringing back a bill on the kinds of stuff you post on social media.
I need to understand, I need to listen, I need to learn.
Plus, see how the man in charge of handling Utah's homeless crisis is getting insight on how people on the street are getting help.
You just never know what's going to walk down the hall.
And meet the special visitor that's giving local veterans some much-needed comfort.
Two major food brands are voluntarily recalling products because of allergy concerns.
Popular food brands, Bob. The FDA says both products pose a serious or even life-threatening risk to those with an allergy or severe sensitivity to almonds or milk. About 1,700 bottles of Hershey's chocolate shell topping were incorrectly filled with the company's topping that's made with almonds. Now, meanwhile, select bags of Ruffles All Dressed, they're potato chips, were inadvertently filled with another flavor of potato chips, potentially exposing consumers to undeclared milk.
Roku stocks are surging. Not only did Roku report a surprise profit in its latest quarter, but sales were huge. More than 53 million active accounts streaming 18.3 billion hours of content, including Fox 13 News anytime you want. The streaming demand will continue, and that's why the company says it will make money again this spring.
Kentucky Fried Chicken says it needs 20,000 more workers. The fried chicken chain wants to hire them to fill positions all across the nation. KFC says it has seen growth in sales as more people opt for the convenience of drive-through, carry-out, and delivery. The open positions are both full and part-time. KFC has relaunched a careers site for those looking to apply, and you can find that off of our website if you just go to fox13now.com.
Restaurants have been poised for a big comeback from the pandemic, and Mother's Day just could do it. Nation's Restaurant News reports multiple chains will be offering both to-go and dining-in options. And Open Table says Mother's Day restaurant reservations are up 64% compared with 2019 and are 9 times higher than last year.
A lackluster monthly jobs report sparked a rebound in technology shares and other growth stocks today, helping send the Dow and S&P to new highs. The Dow rose 229 points to close at 34,778. The Nasdaq added 119. The S&P gained 31.
In our next half hour, a bill to regulate social media platforms is back in the headlines. What the lawmaker behind the legislation is saying about it now and why some argue it could hinder free speech.
Plus, see how a new facility in Cache County is trying to protect victims of domestic violence.
And a look at Utah's moisture levels and what that means for our state's water supply.
On Utah's Capitol Hill, a controversial piece of legislation on social media is back.
Its sponsor says it's about transparency for you, the consumer. But as Ben Winslow reports, critics say it could chill free speech.
The bill requires social media companies to be more upfront about their content moderation policies.
I have opened a bill file.
Senator Mike McKell has brought back his bill on social media moderation. He's demanding tech companies be much more transparent with you about why the things you post might be removed or get you banned.
I do think there is content that should not be on Facebook. I think there's content that should not be on Twitter, but I think it's fair for consumers to have an expectation of what the policy is.
The original bill passed the legislature earlier this year, requiring social media companies to provide clearer information on their moderation policies, notify you about action taken, give you a chance to appeal, and potentially seek damages.
It was a call for social media companies to be fair in the application of their own policies.
Governor Spencer Cox vetoed the bill, acknowledging concerns about social media moderation, but also expressing legal concerns about the First Amendment and the federal law dealing with immunity for internet speech.
They could violate the First Amendment of the Constitution, and that it could also be superseded by Section 230, which is naturally what a lot of these state bills are targeting as a result of these perceptions of conservative biases.
The Libertas Institute, a libertarian-leaning policy group in Utah, opposed the bill. They say bills like this are popping up all over the nation in response to President Trump getting kicked off of Facebook and Twitter and claims of conservative bias.
Data that we know right now shows that conservatives are some of the top performers on social media websites. And the reality is that when we're thinking through this policy question, it's extraordinarily complicated.
They worry this bill could backfire.
You're putting liability on them. They're going to opt for the solution that limits their liability as best they can, right? That means less speech for you, for me, for everybody. And that's been one of the best things about the internet, is that it's given voices to the voiceless. Senator
McKell says he's already talking to social media companies about it and believes it could withstand a legal challenge.
I don't think there's been fairness in how moderation policies have been applied.
Now, the bill will be discussed over the summer in legislative interim hearings. It could return in the 2022 session. On the Hill, Ben Winslow, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Federal prosecutors are asking a judge to impose a life sentence for a southern Utah man convicted of killing his wife aboard a cruise ship. Kenneth Manzanares will be sentenced next month for the death of his wife, Christy. She was found beaten to death aboard a cruise to Alaska. In new court filings, federal prosecutors ask for a life sentence due to the gruesome nature of the crime. However, Manzanares' attorneys only want 7.5 years. They say he has a brain injury and bipolar disorder.
The new Utah coordinator for homeless services is getting a look at what is needed to address the homeless crisis along the Wasatch Front. Former State Senate President Wayne Niederhauser started his tour at the Lantern House in Ogden today. He visited multiple sites in Weber and Morgan counties, gaining perspective on folks who don't have a place to call home.
That's going to be one of the focuses of the homeless coordinating office, my position, to look at ways we can get people into stable housing, and so we can address issues that they face in their life and help them lift themselves out of poverty.
Niederhauser will spend the next several months touring other parts of the state. He and his staff will then create a strategic, flexible plan for homelessness in Utah. The goal is to have it in place by the end of the year and ready to present by next year's legislative session.
New housing in northern Utah will open more doors to people escaping domestic abuse. The Community Abuse Prevention Service Agency, also known as CAPSA, bought an unfinished development back in 2019. They've spent the last year renovating the space. CAPSA runs a 2-year-long program that helps victims of abuse establish independence and also reach goals like putting a down payment on a home or obtaining an education.
So we do have an emergency shelter where victims can flee in an emergency to come and be safe. But what we found is they needed a little bit more time just to rebuild their lives.
Now, the 8 new homes opened today bring CAPSA's transitional housing to 21 units in total. For more information about the nonprofit, also resources for victims of domestic violence, go to fox13now.com.
The state's largest business group is urging business owners and their employees to get the COVID-19 vaccine as quickly as possible. In an email to its members, the Salt Lake Chamber says while the state has met thresholds to terminate public health orders under COVID-19 endgame law, the pandemic is not over. So they're urging more vaccinations. The group also reminds you businesses still have the right to ask for masks, social distancing, or other safety measures as they see fit.
As of today, masks will be recommended but not required in outdoor areas at Utah's Hogle Zoo. CDC-approved face masks will still be required for everyone 3 years old and older in indoor areas there at the zoo. Reservations are still needed for your visit.
The Echoes Theater in downtown Salt Lake will have its first performance in more than a year tonight. Cast members will present the music of Andrew Lloyd Webber in the Delta Performance Hall at 8 p.m. Tickets are still available, but there is a limited supply. Masks and social distancing are required.
Bob, also happening tonight, Utah Valley University will honor the largest graduating class in the school's history. There are 8,729 graduates. Congratulations to all of them. The UVU president says more than 80% of their alumni live and work in Utah after graduation. The class of 2021 is also one of the most diverse. 18% are students of color. Wendy Watson-Nelson, she's the wife of the president of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, is scheduled to address the graduates.
This week, parts of Utah are showing moisture levels at or near 10-year lows. A report from the Natural Resources Conservation Service says the rain and snow we got in April did not provide the relief we needed for our current drought conditions. Last month's precipitation totals in the mountains was only at 58% of normal, bringing the year-to-date total to about 69% of normal.
Some of you may see a little rain tonight. It's not going to be a washout, though, Allison, will it?
Potentially here along the Wasatch Front, we do have a short period of time, a little window where we could be seeing those thunderstorms with very breezy conditions and some periods of heavier rainfall. Yes, absolutely. It's very windy right now. Heber, Roosevelt, Vernal, about 30 to 40 miles per hour. Same thing for Delta, Wendover, Price. Basically, most of Utah has strong wind gusts right now, but especially down towards Cedar City, where it's gusting 41 miles per hour. Here's what we have happening currently on our satellite and radar. Scattered showers, lighter for the Wasatch Front right now, but the bulk of our precipitation is near Wendover. And until 5:45 for the next 10 minutes, we have the special weather statement for the Great Salt Lake, where we're going to see those winds gusts about 40 to 45 miles per hour, which will create very hazardous boating conditions because of the choppy waters. Now it's dry across the south. That's why we have red flag warnings in place, but temperature-wise, it's still pretty comfortable out there. It's about 70 to 80. It's just hard to enjoy those temperatures with the wind that we currently have. But yes, as we head through this evening, I'm tracking that chance for showers and thunderstorms, lightning, strong gusty winds. Let's talk about it coming up in the full forecast.
Perform better in some of the physical aspects than even some of the guys who were trying out for the team.
Oh yeah, one Utah SWAT team made history today. Meet the new member, Jenna Robbins, and find out why she is a pioneer right after the break.
Plus, have you ever wondered what actually gets recycled after you toss it in the bin? An inside look at the new Salt Lake City recycling facility and the answer to that question.
And see the unique and very cute way veterans in Salt Lake are receiving a little comfort. You don't want to miss this. We're back in 60 seconds. We'll talk about overdue. Never before has the Ogden Metro SWAT team had a woman in their ranks, but they do now.
Officer Jenna Robbins has been named to the team. She comes from a family of law enforcers. After 18 months on the Ogden Police Force, she applied and succeeded in making history. More than 24 women before her have tried for a spot on the team, but only Jenna made it.
The standard wasn't changed, and she proved that it was that you could accomplish that you could meet the same standards as everyone else, and so I think it had to open people's mind a little bit.
I've never worked so hard for anything in my entire life, and I feel that now that I've done that, I've definitely earned the respect, and I've shown that women can do it. The atmosphere has completely changed.
Yeah, she proved herself. Those on the SWAT team also say Jenna performed better than some of the other guys trying out for a spot on the team. Jenna's husband is actually on the team as well, which is another first for the couple, so congratulations.
Way to go. Well, today, Lieutenant Governor Deidre Henderson got to experience what learning will be like for 3 brand new virtual schools in the Jordan School District. Rocky Peak Virtual Elementary, Peak Virtual Middle School, and Kings Peak High School are all about giving students and parents options in their education. Students will be able to do work on their own or with the help of a teacher. The new schools were partially brought on because of the lessons learned from the pandemic.
There's a certain way to kind of do online learning. You have to be very methodical and intentional about it. And we sat down and went through a lot of it, and we created a system that's very intentionally designed for student learning and for teachers being able to teach virtually.
All 3 of the new schools are in the process of hiring and training teachers and enrolling students for the next academic year.
The William Christofferson Veterans Home in Salt Lake is taking a unique approach to the term emotional support animal. Look at this. The Veterans Home just got a wallaby named Ava about 2 months ago. The wallaby's wearing a diaper. The administrator of the home, who's worked there for the last 9 years, says she's had a wallaby or a kangaroo the whole time she's been there, adding it helps to lift residents' spirits.
It also gives us spontaneity here where you just never know what's going to walk down the hall, or if you're going to be in your room and in will peek the wallaby, or Gertie the dog will bring you a ball to throw her a ball. And it gives them just a whole nother dimension of love.
Oh, I bet it does. I want to pet Ava there, the wallaby.
Why don't you just get a wallaby? You take it home to the kids.
Oh.
They'll be so surprised.
They would be surprised. My
So
husband
will Jeff.
would be shocked. Little Ava there will only stay at the home about a year until she gets bigger. Then she'll be sent to the Outback Kangaroo Ranch in Washington to live out the rest of her life.
How much of your blue can is actually recycled and how much of this is reused for other purposes? I'm Erin Cox, and coming up next, I'm going to show you.
And later in sports, both RSL and the Jazz at home tonight, including a big one at the Viv, where the Nuggets will try their darndest to put an end to Utah's newest win streak. A Rocky Mountain Rumble preview in a bit.
Salt Lake City Mayor Erin Mendenhall took her first tour of a waste management facility that opened its doors back in July.
There was no grand opening due to the COVID-19 pandemic, so today was the first time Mayor Mendenhall could see the facility that takes care of all the recycling for the city.
That's a big job. Fox 13's Aaron Cox joined in on the tour and shows us how much of what we put in the blue bin is actually recycled.
It may look like a lot of trash,
I'm very proud to be a garbage man.
but even this waste can have a second chance at life. Well, most of it.
Your cardboard can be back into an Amazon box within 30 days, 60 days. You know, your water bottle today can be recycled, and it can be somebody's clothing in, a couple months.
First, it must be sifted. Workers take out the larger pieces of wood, metal. Some lines are meant for cardboard only. Others, certain papers. The large majority of this, above 95%, is recycled.
This is recycling. This is a culmination of 5 years of hard work by a lot of people.
And of course, what happens inside, from aluminum cans to plastics, all comes from people like you and me.
In the average blue can, what we consider a contamination rate, so about 20% of it is trash, garbage, non-recyclable textiles, food waste, bag plastics, things like that. But the other 80% of it is recyclable and is actually made into bales and sold to the end users.
About 1.5 million pounds a month.
That's just from Salt Lake City, where city managers have a goal for 0% waste by 2040.
We're hovering around a 39 to 40% diversion rate today between our curbside recycling and our green waste compost program.
Sifting through waste from the past is all about building a better future.
The recycling it's never the same twice. Really educate people about how they can impact the world and be sustainable for the future, for the next ones, and try to improve the habits.
Workers here tell me they make about 87 of these bales every single day. In Salt Lake City, Aaron Cox, Fox 13 News, Utah.
More than 95% of the recycled material sold for reuse out of that plant is sold domestically. The other 5% is sold to international markets.
All right, make sure your recycling can, garbage can, patio furniture is tied down because it is windy outside and we may see some rain.
Yes, absolutely. So here in Salt Lake City, currently 78 degrees, but our wind is sustained out of the north, currently at 17 miles per hour, and just issued a special weather statement for the Wasatch Front from Ogden all the way down towards Sandy. This is where we're going to see some winds in excess of 40 miles per hour possible. This goes until 6:30 tonight. And you'll want to travel with caution, especially on I-15, I-80, and I-84. So very strong winds expected here for the next little while. We've already had breezy conditions all day long, pretty much, here across a lot of the state. And then we'll also see some increased chances for some showers and thunderstorms. It's dry from the southern half of the state all the way down into Arizona, but fire concerns, that's top of mind for southern Utah today. Red flag warnings in place until 9 o'clock from Lake Powell all the way over towards the Nevada border for southern Utah. Now, our wind is very strong right now, especially down towards Cedar City. Look at that, 41 miles per hour. Across all of the region, we're seeing gusty conditions, and then cooler air fills in for this upcoming weekend, but fire weather forecast still a concern through the evening hours, especially across the southern 2/3 of the state. Then a bit of a break overnight, but still be careful. And then come tomorrow with our daytime heating, more fire problems for eastern Utah. But as of right now, there's no fire warnings issued for this upcoming weekend. Just a great idea to be careful, as always. Now, temperatures here across the state currently, it's about 70 to 80 degrees. But let's talk about the rest of tonight because it's Friday. You might have plans. 72 degrees at 6 o'clock here in Salt Lake City. We are cooling down quickly by 7 p.m. 66, 64 degrees at 8 o'clock tonight, and by 9 p.m. we are back into the 50s. So we're going to end up with windy conditions, some scattered showers and thunderstorms, as this is what I'm tracking for you as this front makes its way along the Wasatch Front. We are looking at about 9, 10 o'clock here across the Wasatch Front. We are stretching from Wyoming all the way down south of Ely with this band of precipitation, but that heaviest precipitation will likely be between about 9 and 11 o'clock tonight. Then that moves off to our east, ends up being a pretty nice Saturday, just a mild day, not as hot as it was last weekend, and then some more chances for rain come Monday here across the region, but the bulk of that storm will be off to our east. But first thing tomorrow morning, it'll be about 35 to 45 degrees. And then our highs tomorrow really won't be too much warmer here in Salt Lake City. Highs only in the upper 50s for your Saturday here across the state. For Park City, highs in the 40s, St. George 84, Moab 76 for Saturday. By Sunday, we have some cooler temperatures for southern Utah, for Moab at least. 71 degrees for a high on Sunday, St. George 84 on Sunday, Park City and Salt Lake 50 and 60 respectively. Now for St. George's upcoming weekend, your mid-80s through Mother's Day. For Sunday, partly cloudy sky, but the rest of the forecast calling for sunshine and back into the 90s by next Wednesday. And for the Wasatch Front, we are warming up next week, but we're going to keep those temperatures below average through Tuesday. And then we're back close to 80 degrees by next Wednesday.
And then there were six regular season games left for the Jazz, that is, with tonight's contest against Denver being the toughest of that group. But Utah has a little momentum going in, riding their first 3-game win streak in over a month. Then again, the Nuggets have been one of the hottest clubs in basketball since late March, winning 18 of their last 22 and climbing up into the 4th spot in the Western Conference race. Denver has also taken 4 of the last 5 over Utah, if you factor in last year's first-round playoff series in Orlando. The Jazz let go of a 3-1 series lead to end their season premature. Jordan Clarkson, for one, is ready for the stretch run, a chance to prove they're in fact ready.
Definitely tuning it up for this playoffs and you know, seeing what they showing early. A lot of teams showing their hands a little early on game planning, but I'll be ready for it when it's time.
Jazz expected to be without their starting backcourt once again. Donovan Mitchell has missed the last 10 games with a bad ankle. Mike Conley the last 5 with a sore hamstring. With current seniors granted an extra year of eligibility by the NCAA, at least one Cougar has elected not to take advantage of that. BYU 7'3" grad transfer Matt Harms has decided to pursue the NBA draft instead. He averaged 11 points, 5 boards, and 2 blocks a game during his 1 season in Provo, good enough to finish second team All West Coast Conference. RSL is off to the franchise's best start in 9 years, and if they defeat San Jose tonight at home, they'll have the best mark in all of Major League Soccer through 3 games. That effort is thanks in large part to a couple of newcomers. Anderson Julio scored twice in Game 1, while Rubio Rubin had 2 goals himself last week against Sporting KC.
I was hoping and expecting that. That's why you bring them in. But we all know that it takes a little bit of acclimation time for any player that comes in, especially from outside of the country. In Rubio's case, he played some USL and stuff here in the States, but never in MLS. Anderson, I think what helps him is he was playing at a high level in Mexico, but still, nevertheless, it's a different league, different kind of style of play. I think what helped both of them is the unity of the group, the welcoming of the group, and how early players came in to start training. I think bought us some time as well to get those players acclimated, and that was layered onto then what the preseason brought. So it was a good duration for them to actually get used to teammates and get some games under their belt.
We will be right back.
Today started out so nice.
It was so promising, wasn't it? But we knew this was coming.
But thank you for the rain. Golly, do we need it? Do we need it?
And also, Allison, for the heads up so people know what to expect on their Friday night.
Yes, so we're going to have some showers and thunderstorms, and some of those thunderstorms will produce winds around 40 miles per hour. So make sure everything in your yard is nice and tied down.
All right. Well, enjoy your evening, everyone.
Bring your umbrella. We'll see you at 9.